How can we respond with empathy and without contempt or sanctimony to friends and loved ones who have internalized the anti-Zionist narrative?
Well,
Douglas.
it depends how deep in they are. At some level, disdain is exactly what is required, um, and indeed contempt. Uh, on the other hand, I do believe that people can be argued out of positions. One of my favorite quotes is from the great Irish satirist Jonathan Swift, who said, "You cannot reason a man out of a position he was not reasoned into." And that is always worth bearing in mind that if somebody has got to their misunderstanding through reason, then they can be reasoned out of it. But I think that when you're in the realms of anti-reason, when you're in the realm of emotion, of identity, effectively, which to go back to this is clearly going to be a very important issue in this case, is people affixing a form of identity around Palestinianist, Arabist, jihadist anti-Semitism. If that's your identity, and you're wearing your kafir and your terrorist chic, despite never having been even to the continent in which this is all being litigated on the ground, then it's extremely hard. It's like hurting somebody's ego. Nevertheless, I think it should be and always can be attempted. But it has to be done piece by piece and over time, because that was how people were misinformed into this in the first place. Steady by steady drip drip of lies. So that the genocide claim has been going on since 2005 when Israel withdrew from Gaza. And we could all point out it's an odd genocide where a population doubles in the area in question during the alleged genocide, but we could point this out and reasoning people might listen. But the genocide claim followed the apartheid claim, followed by it's been so many layers of every possible accusation against the state of Israel, that by now it has become as I've said in my recent book, it's the projection mechanism for everyone's discontents. If you're unhappy with your life, you can believe that you've got a campaign to free Palestine because then everyone will be free. A catastrophic misjudgment, but yes, people can be argued out of it, but not everyone, not the ones who weren't argued into it.
Yes. Well, this is absolutely right. I mean, I think that the context in this case, those poor university presidents who said it was all about the context. In this case, I think that one may say that you're right. If you see before you someone who is reasonable and who is asking a question or holding a position out of reason, then it's worth reasoning with the person. And I made this distinction. I've been a teacher all my life. Well, of course, as a teacher, you have to have that attitude. Every opinion which is expressed in a classroom may not be as equal to every other, but you have to take every student for where the student is. That's your function as a teacher. You have to teach every student. You don't just teach whom you want to, you teach, and teaching involves making the better arguments, persuading. Those are the forms. However, I think that you've encountered this probably, Douglas, certainly as much as I have. When you are speaking, I don't do it all that much anymore, but when you're in a hostile environment and when you're facing people of the kind that you describe, who have an idée fixe and whom you cannot obviously even hope to persuade, and certainly not in an argument that is in public, then perhaps other tactics are involved.
Yes.
And there, I once developed this tactic. Somebody asked me in a very hostile way, "You didn't say anything about apartheid, about Israel apartheid in your speech," at the end of my saying. And so I said, "And you didn't tell me why you killed your grandmother." And the
Mm.
guy was flabbergasted. And
Mm.
he said, You didn't hear my question. I said, I heard your question very well. You didn't hear my question. Why did
Yeah.
you kill your grandmother?
Mm.
And and then I looked at the whole audience. I said, Why did he kill his grandmother? He's going to tell me that he didn't, but can he prove it? Where is she? Show
Yeah.
me. You see? So I will not be put into that position of being asked a hostile question and then asked to answer it. Because if it is based on a stupid premise and if it is a lie and it cannot be addressed reasonably, then don't think one should get into the pit, into the swamp of answering.
Could I just add one other thing to what Ruth said? Because a generative thought is that I think what one thing that I've been very aware of in the last couple of years has been a deep fundamental difference, not just in culture and outlook and much more, but in means of communication. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the protesters who we've all had to face in the last couple of years in America, on campus and off, on the streets of New York, on the streets of Washington, D.C., many times in recent years. If you listen to what they're doing, what are they doing? They chant. They chant. And chanting is the opposite of thinking. We are used to the idea of exchanging ideas, learning from each other, distilling an idea to its essence, getting an argument to its best. But we are dealing with people who use communication and language not to persuade, but to browbeat and to intimidate. Nobody agrees with your chant because you've chanted it 20 times. Nobody says on the 19th time you chant the same thing, oh, I've got the point, now I agree with you. Because it's not meant to be used like that. This is the use of language as a truncheon mechanism. It is agree, know that we're powerful, know that we're thuggish, and we will not leave until we have kept beating you with our phrases. And this is a different way of using human language. And it tells everything about what these people are actually involved in. They're not involved in the exchange of ideas. They're not involved in the realm of thought or reason. They're involved in thuggish intimidation, sometimes using language, sometimes using violence.
It's almost that to deploy language to quiet the mind, actually,
Yeah.
rather than to stimulate it and